Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the original food service equipment repair podcast built by technicians for technicians. Whether you're on the front lines of repair, keeping the kitchen running smoothly, or just passionate about the food service repair industry, this podcast is your go-to source for expert insight, tech tips, and real stories from the field. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, I have very special guest, John Bettiga. I hope I said that right. I probably did.
Bettiga.
Bettiga. See, I should have asked you ahead of time because I am bad with names. So, John.
That's okay.
I've ran across John in several places online. He's always a wealth of knowledge, and he knows a lot of people I know. So, we're going to get into that. But first, I want to thank Viper for supporting the show. Viper from Refrigeration Technologies is one of the best chemical companies out there. It's made by technicians for technicians. It's safe to use in these commercial kitchen environments. It's safe for the technicians, and it's safe on the equipment. So, thank you, Viper, for supporting the show. And let's get right to it. John, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. All things considered. Been a good year. I mean, hey, the restaurant game isn't all it's cracked up to be, but hey, you know what? They still break things. So we still got stuff to do.
Yeah. That is the number one thing, man. They, if it wasn't for the employees, I probably wouldn't have a job. My number one repair is customer abuse, and I'm not complaining whatsoever. So,
there's a reason it's not covered under warranty.
Yeah, they try pretty hard sometimes. Like, oh, the door doesn't close. Well, you ripped the hinge off. Well, it's warranty. Well, no, that's clearly abuse. I can only do so much to help people out. So
right.
So you have been in this industry for a long time. You started off as an auto marine mechanic. And how did you start there and end up here?
This is really kind of weird. I've worked on anything that burns gasoline, diesel, or oil since I was like 10 years old. So by the time I was 16, I was a pretty good automotive mechanic. And my girlfriend's sister's brother's dad owned a refrigeration company, and he was a union electrician. And I was working at the local fast food joint, and I fixed his son's everything, his cars, his motorcycles, his boats. And he used to come by and tell me, hey, when you want a real job, come on out to my place. I'll put you to work, So I finally took him up on it, and I went out and I fixed everything. This guy had tractors, boats. I mean, he was a pilot too, but I didn't work on his planes because I'm not aircraft certified. But I worked on all kinds of stuff, and it got to where there wasn't a whole lot to do. And one day he asked me, he said, you ever think about working on some of these semi-hermetic compressors? And I said, well, no, not really. So he said, well, it's not a lot different from an engine. Back then, everything, we're talking back in the 70s, everything was reciprocating.
Yeah.
It was either a reciprocator or a screw machine, one of the two, So I started taking compressors apart and cleaning parts and putting them back together. And, I did that for a while. And then one day he walked out there and said, you need to go get in that van with that man right there. And he said, you open your ears and your eyes and you close your mouth and you might just learn something. And that's how I started off in service.
That's funny. Just one thing led to another. And next thing you know, you're in a van riding around somebody learning.
For sure.
It's I teach refrigeration for Sefesa, and I some of our slides are pretty old, like really old Copeland slides of like semi-hermetic compressors and viscous compressors and stuff. And I'm always blown away. Like, I've never been in the racks. I've never been in that kind of stuff. It's never. I'm always interested by it, but I've never really been down that route. And to see like, oh, you got a broken valve. Well, you can just isolate that compressor, pop the valve plate off. New gasket, put a new valve plate back in there, pull vacuum in the compressor. You're good to go. I'm like, that's pretty slick, I guess. But look at those compressors. Those things are huge and thousands of dollars and not in stock. So
yeah, they were field repairable.
Yeah,
pretty interesting. We worked on Carlisle, Chrysler, Carrier, Copeland. I had no idea Chrysler made semi-hermetic air conditioning compressors.
I've got a Chrysler walk-in cooler somewhere. I forget where it's at. It's an old walk-in cooler freezer. And it's like, it says Chrysler. And I'm like, what? Like, oh yeah, the whole system used to be Chrysler. It's got a newer condensing unit and newer evaporator, but the box is still a Chrysler box. I'm like, that's cool.
For sure.
So, what was it like, making that change over to riding in a van with somebody?
It was very strange because I had not done that before. I'd always like been in a shop environment,
Mhm.
a very controlled shop environment. And at first it was a little intimidating,
Mhm.
but fortunately the guy that he put me with had a son that was about my age. And he said, I sure hope my son tries to learn something like this. So I got lucky. He was very patient. I could ask him questions, as long as I didn't ask him the same question 3 times. Um, but I was very fortunate that, I was able to do on the job training and all virtually anything I would ask him, he would answer me. And he said, if you don't understand the answer, you need to tell me so we can figure it out.
That's cool. But, you took the chance and you listened to him. I've saw a lot of guys in my short career, and some will answer questions, some will ask questions, some act like they know it and don't know it, and it's just it sucks when someone thinks they know it and they're scared to ask the questions. Like, I'm never gonna be mad at somebody for asking a question. Like, please ask a question. I'm not gonna call you stupid. I'm not gonna be mean to you. If you don't understand it, I'm here to help you understand it. You know what I mean? My job is to help you understand, and people just are
Well,
scared to ask questions sometimes. It seems like.
I didn't have a whole lot of choice on the learning side of it. Um, my boss, who the guy that owned the company, was a crotchety old union electrician. He was a master electrician, and he saw people making money working on air conditioning
Mhm.
and making more money than he was making as an electrician. So he decided, I'm going to open an air conditioning company. Hired a couple air conditioning mechanics, and boom, he was an air conditioning company. But
That's
you learned, or you were out the door with him. He was he was the opposite of the guy I was riding with. Let's put it that way.
that's a weird dynamic. I guess it works. It works. So
It did.
how long did you ride around with them and work for them before you got into, the grocery rack systems?
I rode around with that guy for about a year and a half, and then one day I walked in, and Howard, the boss, said he hands me a work order and says, "You can call me as many times as you want, but don't come back until it's fixed." And I didn't realize what it was. I don't know if you've ever seen one. It was like a 8-story building.
Yeah.
It's a mammoth unit,
Hmm.
and it's a boiler, a chiller. I mean, it does it all. It's a dehumidification, everything. This is back in the 70s, and you open up the control panel, and there's like 300 terminations. The schematic is a 5-page book, and you have to get out your meter and start, eliminating stuff. And it took me 2 days and about 5 calls, but I finally did figure it out.
That's wild.
And after that, and he said, the reason I did that to you was so that you would understand that it's a machine that's made by people. You're a person. You're smarter than it is. You can overcome it. You might need some help from people. You might need to ask some questions, but you can fix it. He said, that's the reason I sent you down there like that. Because I said, man, you sent me down there in the blind. I never seen one of those things before in my life. You know, um,
Yeah.
that was a quantum change right there. After that, a residential air conditioner was a tinker toy.
Yeah. Um, that mindset though, like, you just seem like you have that mindset, like, you're not gonna beat me, or you're not gonna, that piece of equipment is not gonna win. You're smarter than it. And it seems like you've just carried that on for the last, for decades.
I love working on things I've never worked on before.
Yeah, and that's the same way I am. I love to see something new. A guy will, I don't want to work on this. I never worked on that. I'm scared. Or what's this? And I'm like, give it to me. I'll go look at it. Like,
You bet.
as long as I can figure out how to turn it on, I'll try to fix it.
Well, and you're gonna come out of it smarter. You
Oh yeah,
know,
100%. So you worked on grocery store racks with HEB for years. What did the experience teach you about the large scale refrigeration?
that any adjustment that you make takes a certain amount of time before it manifests itself in the performance of the system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you got an uneven parallel system with a 5, a 15, and a 20 horse compressor and a 300-gallon receiver out on the roof and 28 cases all that have, 3 pilot lights, and it's miles of pipe and a lot of refrigerant. And what I had to learn about that was you make your change and you wait. It's going to take a while for it to take effect because it's such a huge system.
Yeah.
And isolating the different sections of the system and how all the different sections of the cases downstairs are each individual refrigeration systems, but at the same time, they're part of the big system, the mothership, however you want to call it, It was quite a change. It was going from working on freezers, coolers, and ice machines to working on rack systems. And I had never seen a rack system before in my life. And again, I got lucky. And there was a guy that worked with me that knew rack systems forward and backwards. And, he'd check on me. How you doing? To check this, you check that. Why didn't you look at this over here? Trying to get me, he was trying to pull the answer out of me. You know what I mean? He was trying to ask me the right questions to where I would go, oh, wow. Yeah, I should check that.
That's my favorite teaching style, though, is someone will call me and ask me for an answer. I'm never going to give them an answer. I'm going to give them questions that's going to lead them to figure it out themselves. And I always know when it's right because they never call me back. I'll ask them a couple of questions, and if they can't give information, I'll go look for that. And then once they find it, like, oh, they don't call it back.
You'll ask me something here down the ways, and I got another story about that too.
So, how long did you do rack refrigeration with HEB?
I did racks for 2 years, and then his contract kind of shifted to walk-ins and reach-ins. HEB was trying to. This was back when there was a plain HEB, and then there was a superstore.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this guy did superstore conversions. They would take a regular HEB, shut it down, rip everything out of it, and turn it into a superstore. And part of the superstore was this is when they decided to put in, 9,000 glass door merchandisers.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, you had Dixo controllers to deal with and all kinds of, you had to be able to work on little systems too.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for about a year. And I guess it was 2 or 3 years. It was like close to 85, I think. I started working for him in 82, doing superstore conversions. Then I came to San Antonio to do service. And then I kind of parted ways with him and went back to corporate because I was tired of the road.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked to a lot of rack guys, and that seems to be some guys love it, and some guys, they can do it for a little bit and they just can't take it. It's like it can be demanding, especially if you're retrofitting stores, and I mean it can be wild. Some of the stuff those guys deal with and do, it's crazy, man. I watched them build a Costco over here, and they built it in like 2 months. I'm like, how did these guys do this? And you drove
7
by there
days a week.
You drove by there 24 hours a day, and there's always a van there, someone there working.
Yes. Yeah, there's no calendar.
Yeah, the mechanical contractor was there every single day. It seemed like at least 2 shifts. I'm like, that is insane.
Well, those guys are on like a bonus system.
Yeah.
And they have a deadline. And if they finish ahead of the deadline, they make X bonus percentage. But if they finish behind the deadline, not only do they not get a bonus, they have to pay a penalty.
So that makes sense. So you came off the road and you went back to Corpus, you said. So you went to work for a certain, are we allowed to say what it is? I don't want to get you in trouble or anything, but can we say who you went to work for a while?
You can say who I went to work for. It's okay.
He went to Whataburger for a while and was a refrigeration mechanic for them. And you did quite a bit of stuff for them.
I've done a lot for them. It's kind of strange. I went and interviewed, and I put my references down there. I'd worked in and around Corpus quite a bit. And the girl said, well, we're going to be interviewing in a couple weeks. And I said, oh, okay, great. I can use a couple weeks off, no problem. And the next day she calls me and says, hey, they want you to come in today for an interview. I said, wait a minute. You said you weren't going to be interviewing for a couple of weeks. She said, yeah, well, they called all your references and they all said they wish you were still working there. So he wants to talk to you.
He doesn't want them calling you back. He was someone else calling.
And he knew the references.
That's funny.
So I went to work for them as a refrigeration mechanic and electrician, both.
Mm-hmm.
Did all kinds of stuff. Gosh, back then, I don't know, they probably had 350 restaurants, and they were, I think, probably very concentrated in Texas. They were in some other states, but not a lot. And I did lots of air conditioning and refrigeration and ice machines. And then one day I went in and they handed me this work order, and it was for a fryer. And I said, well, did you give this to the wrong person? Oh, no, it's yours. And I went, well, wait a minute. I'm a refrigeration mechanic and electrician. I don't work on fryers. He said, look, it's a heater that heats oil instead of air with some different controls. Go figure it out. He said, you call if you need to, but you can figure it out. Trust me. And so I kind of had to find my way through it. And really, it wasn't that bad, to be honest with you. It just kind of different application.
Yeah. We talked a little bit before we went on air about, what year was this when you started doing the hot side stuff, the fryer?
87.
So 87. So, the changes I've seen in 20 years in this industry and like the equipment and communication stuff like that, I can't imagine, the changes you've seen in the period of time you've been doing it. But, in 87, that's probably the same gas valve you'd have on a package unit on a roof or something. I mean, it's a standing pilot. It's pretty simple, nothing, too crazy. But yeah, that's what a lot of guys hang up. A lot of guys come from that HVAC side and they don't want to do the cooking side. And I get it. It's a lot greasier and a lot nasty. But if you've been doing residential HVAC, I'd rather work in a restaurant than someone's house some days. Some of the pictures I've seen, horror stories I've seen.
Well, cooking equipment is, and now fortunately, Whataburger is like 95% electric on
nice.
their cooking equipment. So I didn't have to deal with a lot of gas. But as far as the grease and the dirt, and yes, it's all there. But you know what? Have you ever seen a clean air conditioner?
No,
I haven't.
No.
Freezers, coolers, and ice machines all day long. I avoid nasty air conditioners at all costs if I can. But, it's part of the deal. You know it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that owns freezers, coolers, and ice machines also owns air conditioners.
Yep, 100%. Yep, so one thing led to another. So, you've kind of been through that trajectory where everything's changed electronics. So how did learning electronics and controls change the trajectory of your career?
Well, that's funny. It's another kind of a weird story. At the time, the electric fryers we were using were computer controlled by it's an analog type of computer, but it compensated time and temperature. It had a temperature probe and, push buttons and all that. And they were mounted in the front of the fryer. And there was no heat shield of any kind in between the front of the tank and the computer housing. Mm-hmm. So the heat from the tanks was killing these computers. So the guy I worked for said, you said you played around with electronics. I said, yeah, I played around with electronics, fixed a couple of boards here and there. See if you can figure out how to fix these fryer computers. So it wasn't real hard. They had a couple diodes that went bad from the heat. So I started fixing them, and I said, hey, we ought to try to find a way to get these things up away from the heat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's killing them. And these things were like $1,200 a piece.
Oh yeah.
And there's 4 of them in every store. So we talked to the factory and we talked to our fabricator, and we came up with a way to, if you walk in a Whataburger, you're going to see the computers are up at eye level. Mm-hmm. They're not in the front of the fryer anymore. Well, the whole reason that we did that was for the life of the computer. Everybody thinks it's, to make it easier for the operators to use. That was kind of a collateral benefit. Mm-hmm. Where in the process, I think really soon of probably putting them back in the front of the fryer.
So did Whataburger really come up with that design, or because I've seen that design, and I'm in Indiana, we don't have Whataburgers here, but I've seen that design when I first started. A lot of the real old McDonald's had those, and Burger King's had those where the controllers were up on top and there was a cable that
Yep.
came down in the back.
I don't know. I have no knowledge of why they did it. I can tell you why we did it.
That's probably the same reason, probably the exact same reason. There was nothing separating them between.
But now there's some heat shielding in between the front of the tank, and because the majority of people do use them in the front of the fryer.
Yep. Yeah, most of them are insulated on the front to keep the heat off the controls and everything else for sure. So that's a pretty good idea. Yeah, I've seen that in some of the older stores, and I always wondered why they did that. And I guess that does make sense because they probably just didn't insulate the fry pot, and they were probably just taking out controls nonstop.
You're right.
That's cool. Learn something new every day. So, you're refurbing both hot and cold side equipment, and I had to give you a unique perspective. What was the biggest thing techs misunderstood about rebuilding equipment?
The biggest thing that I learned in doing the repair depot was to take the extra time and double check your work and be as thorough as you can, because people have this preconceived notion when something is refurbished that it's like new, and that it's going to perform like new. So you have to do your best to make sure that it does perform like new. Yeah, that was the biggest thing that I took away from the depot.
So was that for Whataburger then, the depot?
Yes.
So they just send stuff back into the warehouse, and you just had to go through it, fix it, and send it back out?
We did drink system chillers, we did freezers, we did shake machines, we did grills, flat top electric grills, we did electric fryers. What else did we do? That's probably the ball. We did some toasters, some conveyor toasters and stuff, but it was mostly the big equipment, that was hard to field repair, like a Cornelius 1050 chiller. It's basically a 3-foot tall square box that's 24 by 24 with a 35 or 40 gallon tub sitting in the top of it with tubing that goes down in it that the syrup and the carbonated water circulates through, and it builds an ice wall around the wall of the tub. Well, the compressor deck is in the bottom of it. So to change the compressor, you literally have to tear the whole thing apart.
Oh, yeah.
So they became, they were trying to change compressors in the field. And I said, I'm not going to try to change that thing in the field. You're nuts. I said, let's take this one over here and let's rebuild it. And then let's go swap them out and bring that one back. And then we can tear it apart, put the compressor in it here, get it all ready to go out. So the next time one fails, we just go swap them,
So that's that was my next question, is like, did you guys just give them one and then you repaired that one, and then when the next door went down, you just gave them that one, just constantly just cycling through? I guess they're all the same owner, the same group. It doesn't really matter where it's at. It's their equipment.
Well, yeah, we were kind of that. We did that for our area, and then we started doing it for Houston. And it just kind of snowballed. And then back in the late 90s, the fryers were in kind of bad shape, and they did a calculation on what it would take to replace all the fryers, and it was a lot. It was a big number. So they challenged us and said, what can we do to get another 5 to 7 years, out of the fryers?
Holy smokes.
So, we met with the engineers, at the fryer manufacturer, and came up with a plan to totally refurbish the fryers for like 40% of replacement cost. And we did, I don't know, 250 stores, 300 stores worth.
Whew.
We took the tanks out of them, stripped them down to the chassis, sandblasted them, painted the chassis, replaced all the electric components in them, made our own wire harnesses. The fryer manufacturer said they'd never seen anybody do anything like that.
Well, that's wild.
And the idea was to get 7 years out of them. 17 years later, we took the last one out of service.
So they got their money's worth out of them multiple times, is what you're saying.
You bet. They sure did. It was, I would not want to do it again. It took us close to 2 years to do it, of doing nothing but being in a metal building, working on fryers.
Yeah, that could get old real fast.
It was. We finally found somebody in Austin that was willing. They came down and looked at our operation, and they were like a walk-in manufacturer,
Mm-hmm.
and they did a lot of restaurant work. And they said, "Yeah, we can do that." So fortunately, we had their assistance. They did probably, I don't know, 75 to 100 stores. Otherwise, we'd have wound up doing them all. I had nightmares, man. You dream about fryers.
Come in every day, just rebuild a fryer, send it out, and get it,
Oh,
build it again. That's
but
wild.
it was worth it. I mean, the company realized great value out of it.
Yeah, because as some of my listeners may not know, the average life expectancy of a fryer is like 7 to 10 years.
Correct. And in a 24/7, 364 operation, it's shorter than that.
Yeah, it's like 4 to 7, really. On a good fryer, if you get 7 out of a fryer at a 24/7 store, you've got your money out of it several times over.
You buy the better fryer because it does take abuse.
Yep, that's cool. So, we're talking about that headquarters or the depot. That's an 80,000 square foot building, and you did most of the building side. I mean,
Oh
you
my gosh.
took care of everything in the building too, on top of fixing equipment.
There was a period of time when I was not only the building engineer but the building manager as well, because they reassigned the building manager to a new hot project. Mm-hmm. And said, "Yeah, you can do it." I said, "Well, how long am I going to do this for?" And they go, "Oh, don't worry, we'll figure it out." But the biggest thing I learned about being a building engineer in an 80,000 square foot building is that if you can satisfy 50% of the people 50% of the time, you're good.
Nice.
There was 180 people in that building, and that's like I used to tell the owner all the time, "Hey, if I can keep half of them happy half the time, that's a win." And he said, "I wouldn't want to be in your shoes." I said, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah, but you've kind of forced me into it, so that's funny.
It kind of happened that way. It was really strange. I was doing a lot of the repairs over there, and the guy that was the building engineer retired.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of started doing the stuff that he did that I didn't do before because there was nobody else to do it.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So, you also led major renovations and rebuilds of these stores. What is one construction or design decision you wish every restaurant would get right the first time? I mean,
that's an easy one. That's a real easy one.
Go to these restaurants, you hate life sometimes. So
nobody pays attention to ventilation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nobody pays attention to ventilation. And, if you're going to take 3,500 cubic feet per minute of air out of a building, you damn sure better put it back in.
Mm-hmm.
And you better at least semi-treat it, if not fully treat it.
Especially in Texas.
Hot, humid climates. Yeah. Ventilation is the one thing. And what happens when you don't do ventilation right, this is when you get, your microbial growth and, all the stuff that people are terrified of. They see something black around an AC vent and they go, "Oh my God, it's going to kill us," And, there's only 3 kinds of mold that you can't really eat, to be honest with you, that will harm you. They mistake mildew with mold, but ventilation is the thing. Mm-hmm. It affects almost every system in the restaurant.
Yep. I love walking into a brand new restaurant and you can't pull a door open. I'm like, did you guys not balance your hoods? Like, did you guys not set this up? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I can't open the door. Like, oh, it's just a door closer. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, you can hear the air whoosh by you when you open the door. It's not a door closer issue. It's a ventilation issue. I've got a friend with the high school with, and that's what he does. He's a professional air balancer guy, and he just travels all over balancing systems, and it's pretty cool.
Yes, it's essential.
Mm-hmm.
Even if like we design and build a system that is 0.02 inches water column positive inside the building. Okay, only if it's balanced that way. Mm-hmm. Only if somebody that knows what they're doing takes the drawings and goes in there and adjusts all the exhaust fans, all the makeup dampers, all the blowers on the rooftop units. All of that has to be synchronized.
That's a lot of work. And, like you said, one little piece fails and then it's all out the window.
You're right.
So, You helped design that kitchen layout for Whataburger, and you still use it today. What is one of the most innovative features at the time of designing that system?
I don't know that I'd call it innovative. Unique, maybe. Um, the cook line itself, or what I call the engine of the kitchen, it's a dual line that is symmetrical.
Hmm.
What's on the right side is the inverse of what's on the left side. So in effect, you basically have two full service lines back to
Yeah,
back.
and there's a lot of places that use that concept now. It's kind of weird. Some even have like three. I know
Yeah.
Taco Bell, the line is the same on both sides, and then they have a half line up against the wall. So if
Yep.
it's a busy store, it technically has three lines, and it's wild to watch, and they make it work. But that's a pretty cool thing to help institute.
It's a way to pack more production in a smaller space.
Yeah, yep.
And that was kind of what the driver was for that.
Mhm. Yeah, I walk in some kitchens now, and I'm like, how do you guys get all this stuff in here? And it's wild. Some of the stuff they do.
As they build the building, it has to be put in there at the right time.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
There's been times when, I walk in a building and it's the delivery day for, all the fabricated equipment, and you look and the front counter's in place and the walls of the kitchen are there, and hey, come here, you guys, you got to tear that out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean we got to tear it out? No, you have to take it out. You look, it's right here on the drawings. They have a truck with all this equipment that they have to get in here, and it will not go past that counter and that wall. So either you tear it out or I'll tear it out. It's up to you.
It'll be easier for them to put back if they do it.
Correct. And they no, we'll do it. We don't want you doing it.
Oh yeah, and they probably just got ahead of themselves and did it. Didn't think nothing of it. Oh, it can fit in there, and no, it can't always fit in there. I've had to take stuff up and over counters, take out windows, and get stuff into buildings. I'm like, this is dumb. This is absolutely dumb.
If you've never built a food truck, you haven't lived. Everything has to go in through the serving window.
Yeah. So I tell people this all the time. The coolest food truck I've ever worked on was a Chick-fil-A food truck, and I was blown away because Chick-fil-A, a lot of them stores have their own maintenance guys, and I was there working on a warranty call for a fryer for Fry Master, and this guy had a bad filter pump on one of Henny Pennies. I was like, all these fryers are bolted in place. I'm like, how is he going to do this? He's like, oh, come here. He goes to the outside, and they have panels on the outside of the food truck to open up. And he's standing outside, can reach right in and grab that filter pump and just pull it right out. I was like,
that is unique. Someone who designed the truck knew you were going to have access to that.
Yeah, and it was the coolest thing ever. He's like, oh, I love changing these. It's like, I don't have to get on the ground. I can just stand right here and do it. I was like, that was super cool. That was I remember it to this day. It's been like 6 years. I'm like, someone thought about that one. That was good.
That is cool.
So if you had to redesign a kitchen today from scratch, what would you change based on everything you've learned over the years?
I don't know if it's something I would change. What I think doesn't happen enough in kitchen design is I don't think people go out and observe. They don't go out and observe the people that they're designing this kitchen for as they're using the kitchen that they have.
Yeah.
You need more observation and more input from the operators is really what is key in kitchen design.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, it just seems like if there's an inch under that hood, a salesman's going to sell them something to fit in there.
It's the people that are going to use it are the people that you need to design it for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have to be mindful of cost and size and power and all those things. That goes without saying, but the use of it is really the ease of use, I guess, and cleaning is really the most important thing.
Yep.
If you make it easy to clean, they'll clean it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
You know that. You've worked on enough equipment to know.
Yeah, the stuff is always clean because you throw tablets in there and you hit a button, you walk away, and you come back the next morning, it looks brand new. Something you got to scrub never gets scrubbed. You're like,
how many times have you gone on a service call and cleaned a piece of equipment and that's all it needed?
Oh, all the time. Clean a filter pan.
You bet.
Oh, it won't pump, and I pull out the filter pan. I'm like, when's the last time you guys changed this filter paper? Oh, we changed it yesterday. I'm like, no.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Like, this thing weighs like 200 pounds. Like, how am I going to get this stuff cleaned out of here? I can't believe it was still pumping. So. Yeah, people are their own worst enemies. So you got into controls and automation. You adopted building controls back in 2000 with the Emerson or CPC Einstein 2. What was that transition like?
That was a quantum move right there. We were fortunate in the late 90s that we had some people come to work for us in leadership that realized that um, using the operators to tell us when things aren't working right is not the best way. And to be able now, for many years today on the drawings it's called an energy management system, but for many years it was called a building control system because the energy that it saved was a collateral benefit.
Mhm.
The highest and best use of the system was to tell us when things aren't working right, and to give us an indication. At the end of the month you look at your printout and you go, oh wow, look at this cooler's running 100% of the time and it's only maintaining 42-degree average. I think somebody probably ought to go look at that condensing unit. you know
Mhm.
Something's wrong. Somebody needs to go pay attention to that. So back in 2005 we actually had systems that were actively alerting us.
Nice.
Yeah, it was we didn't know if it was going to work or not, and CPC Emerson was a big help.
Mhm.
Guy named John Williams, who is no longer with us, God rest his soul, was instrumental in us being able to adopt and use controls to our advantage. He really was a positive effect. He both in system design, system utilization. He helped us debug the program to be able to send different alerts for different things. And this was back, in 2000. We didn't have all the high tech communication that we have today.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and you're putting those systems in, but you know the technician's got to be able to work on that. So how did you guys teach the technicians how to work on that and be involved in that process?
it's actually pretty modular.
Is it?
Yeah, it was dumb IO.
Mhm.
There are IO cards in the rooftop units, and each one had eight inputs, eight outputs. So
Okay.
all the sensors fed those two cards, and then they were on an RS-485 network, which is still in use today, but still kind of prehistoric. Um, they talked via or RS-485 to the E2, which had the program in it, made the decisions, and sent the commands back to the IO boards, which had 8 relays on them, so that you could command the different functions of the rooftop units. We controlled outdoor lighting, we controlled temperature and humidity, we monitored all the refrigeration. In the beginning, we actually controlled the refrigeration.
Nice.
But then we went through, I don't know, 2007, we went through a value engineering where, leadership said, hey, we gotta cut back. We're spending too much on this stuff. So the refrigeration control turned into refrigeration monitoring, but it
Okay.
still allowed us to alert on it.
Nice. That's cool.
So the modularity of it made it pretty easy. You said something earlier about the guys calling in. There's something wrong. I still get calls. A tech will call me and go, hey, I'm over here at the store and I'm really having problems with these controls. Oh, really? Yeah, man. It's humid in the kitchen, and it's hot and cold. It's all over the place. These controls just aren't working right. I said, okay, disconnect all the controls from the unit. Well, what do you mean? Well, just take all the low voltage wires that would be coming from a thermostat and disconnect them from the IO board. Okay, what next? Get out your jumpers and make the unit be an air conditioner, make it be a heater, make it be a blower, make it dehumidify. And if you can't do that as you being the control, then guess what? It's not the controls, it's the unit.
So that gets
And
me yeah, my next
you know,
question. Like, what was the
and
biggest?
nine times out of 10, they don't call me back.
Yeah, yeah, and that gets me to my next question. Like, what was the most common mistake? And guys were blaming the controls when it really was a unit issue, never a control issue.
Still to this day, I got a call yesterday from a tech in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And his first words out of his mouth were, "Man, these controls are driving me nuts." I said, "Really? Okay, well, let's get out your meter. Let's figure out what's happening, what's not happening."
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him 4 or 5 things to check and told him, run the unit through its paces. Man, he didn't call me back. I guess the controls started working.
It was never a controls issue. That's funny. That's funny. And guys see something like that now, automatically just assume that's the problem instead of looking at the unit and the unit's the unit, the control's the control. It's two separate things. Go through your unit first. If your unit's fine, then okay, let's talk about the controls. But
the other thing is they're going to blame something that they don't understand.
Oh, dude, that is my biggest pet peeve on the internet. I go in all these groups on Facebook, and these guys are this brand of fryer is junk, this brand of fryer is junk, and
that just means they don't understand it.
And that's exactly what I said. I'm like, do you work on those? Well, no. Are you trained on those? Well, no. I was like, so you're just saying something's junk because you don't understand. Cool. So the problem is you, not that fryer. Most of the time they get mad or they just leave me alone after that. I'm like, well,
you're right. You're absolutely right. It's so nice to hear someone else say that.
That's my favorite comment. I don't care what brand it is. Like, and yes, there is some pretty cheap Chinese fryer and coolers and stuff out there, but they all do the same thing. But yeah, most of the time people are uneducated. They don't understand how it works, and it's easier for them to blame the equipment than to blame themselves for not understanding it. So you're currently support over 150 technicians across 17 states. What is the biggest skills gap you see in today's tech workforce?
Training by far.
Mm-hmm.
Training and diversity of skill sets. Kind of like what I had to put up with when I came to work as a refrigeration mechanic, then I had to learn to work on fryers.
Yeah.
And, I will tell you, I can take a refrigeration mechanic and teach him to work on kitchen equipment. It's a lot tougher to take an air conditioning mechanic and teach him to do that. Because if he can work on an ice machine, a freezer, and a cooler, I can get him to understand fryers and grills.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you just have to wrap your mind around that. Okay, it's a different kind of heat. It's controlled a little differently. It's heating a medium instead of heating air. Big deal.
It's just a different phase of thermodynamics.
And with the electronics and the communication that has made its way into all the equipment, the techs they open it up, they see electronics, and immediately they go, "Oh no, I have no idea what that thing does."
Well, I mean, we get back to when we first started. You could have a handful of parts and fix a lot of anything in the kitchen, and now you open it up and I mean, I've got pieces of equipment to get like 6 different voltages in them. You got 208, 240. You got 24 DC, 12 volt DC, 3 volts DC, 5 volts DC. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And like, if you don't know what to check where, you're just lost.
And the better equipment that we see coming out today, a lot of it will tell you what's wrong with it.
Oh, 100%.
Or at least tell you where to look.
Yeah. I made a video today where I was pressing some buttons on an oven to show people how to test it. I'm like you can press this button, it's supposed to be activating that. Do I have voltage there? Yes. Does the component come on? No. Well, that component's bad. It's got voltage and it's not coming on. It's that simple. But yeah, a lot of this stuff's getting pretty easy to do. And man, it's getting to the point now where this stuff's tied to the internet and the manufacturers are telling you, hey, bring this because it's not working. And you get there and sure enough, that's what it was.
And the days of specialization are pretty much behind us.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much got to pick, plow, or chop. You got to be able to do the hot side and the cold side stuff, and it's closer than it has been in 30 years because of the electronics and because of a lot of the electromechanical and communication changes. There are more similarities.
Yeah.
So, but you have the stigma where hey, I'm an AC mechanic. I don't work on fryers. They're nasty.
I'll work on anything because I like a challenge.
Me too.
So what separates a good tech from a high-level tech, in your opinion?
One that seeks training on his own and one that takes his time and is thorough. 100%. A lot of the younger guys these days are obsessed with speed.
Yeah.
They are obsessed with going fast and getting to the next one when you and I both know what that's going to result in.
Someone will be behind them fixing it.
That's either that or he's going to be going back.
Yep,
So
100%. I see both of them. I got some guys.
and there's so much training out there that's available on the internet that's free.
Oh yeah.
That if somebody has a computer and some time and can halfway type, even if you only type with 2 fingers, you can still find a lot of good basic electromechanical training on the internet. And,
so many manufacturers have it online, and then there's people out there just putting out great content that walk you through how to do things too. It's both worlds.
Well, there's a couple of different technologies out there too. There's and one of the simplest ones that you can use if you're both Apple people is FaceTime.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 100%.
And then there's the guys with the 3D glasses, and all that stuff. But even if you're an Android person, if I'm an Android person and you're an Apple person and you're troubleshooting a piece of equipment and you're getting your butt kicked, you can start a FaceTime session and invite me on my Android phone.
Really?
And I can accept it and it works. Yes.
So Altucher was a combi of a manufacturer. They make some other stuff too, but they have
the Vector.
I love vectors, but they have a app they use called TextSee, and like they send you a text message, you click on it, and like they can control. Well, you have to hold your phone, but they can see everything you see. Like you show your phone.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, Xerox came out with a version of that. There's like 4 or 5 versions out there that you use your phone, and some of them even have like you put on a pair of glasses, and the glasses have lenses and speakers in them, and then what you're looking at, the people on the other end are looking at.
That's cool.
So that's going to be more. That's going to be more and more refined as time goes on. But poor boys have poor ways. If it was me, I'd use FaceTime.
Yep, and
I'm not an Apple person.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you approach helping techs troubleshoot remotely when you can't be on site? But right there, like you said, FaceTime, phone calls, that kind of stuff is key.
Yeah. Show me the wires you're talking about. Oh, there they are, right there. Okay, you see that yellow one? It's in the wrong place. You need to move it 1 screw over to the right. Boom,
I had a guy
done.
I had a guy one day. I was trying to help him, and I set a collared wire. He was like, "I don't see it." I was like, "How do you not see it? That wire's in there." He's like, "Oh, I'm colorblind." I was like, "I wish you had told me before we started, dude." I said, "We're gonna have a hard time with this one."
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that was a fun day. So you've been in HVACR, refrigeration, hot side, controls, project management, engineering, design, and build. What part of the industry has changed the most during your career?
By far, the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
The equipment back when I started in this was all analog, all electromechanical. To your point, what we were discussing earlier, same transformer, same temperature control, would apply to 6 or 8 or 10 different brands of equipment. Robert Shaw, White Rogers, Unitrol, those brands. You carried all that stuff, man. You could fix 90% of the stuff. But with the way electronics has made its way into the equipment, and then communication to boot, hell, even coffee makers communicate now. Commercial coffee makers, Bunn, and I don't want to throw any rocks at Bunn here, but they for a long time resisted the communication, and as such, I think they lost quite a bit of market share. Now they're on the other end of the spectrum. Bunn does not make a commercial product that does not have resident communication.
Oh yeah, they host a lot of their training stuff at the Festus corporate building, and some of the equipment they have in there. I was like, Bunn makes all this? Like, oh yeah, this is all Bunn stuff. I'm like, this stuff's wild. Some of the stuff they got in there.
I'm very happy they finally came to the table. Before it was, hey, we're Bunn. You should buy our stuff because we're Bunn.
Yeah, they were the name for all the years, and then
yes.
Fatco and some of these other guys came in and they just started advancing. And I was like, well, we've been the standard. We're just going to stay the standard.
Now, the evolution of the equipment by far is what is the standout. There's no 2 ways about it.
Nice. So what excites you about changes you're seeing in commercial kitchens and building systems right now?
I would probably say the the communication ability and the intercommunication. In years past, you've been around long enough. You remember LAN.
Oh yeah.
You remember the NAFM data protocol,
Yep, yep.
where everybody, oh, this is gonna be the greatest thing since toilet paper, okay? And then they held everybody hostage for money, to be able to use the protocol for a gateway. Well, that is eroding, and more, there's more and more interoperability, and more systems can talk to more and more systems.
Yep.
So I think the most exciting thing is that we're going to be able to bridge that communication gap, and you're going to be able to have integrators that can talk to anybody's anything.
Yeah.
Our latest controls company is very into that. They have the ability to talk to just about all the HVAC manufacturers in internal controllers,
That's
which
cool.
is pretty cool.
Yeah, because a lot of manufacturers don't want to get on board with that, but
yes,
that's the hard part. And
yes, you're right.
That can be a game changer for somebody.
Yes, to me, that's by far the most exciting part of what's evolved, and everything, buildings, architecture, all the stuff that I've been involved with, and the fact that we have actually survived all the overregulation by the government.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk for hours about that, but I'm not going to.
So my friend EC2Fix, he says NAFM data protocol. He hasn't heard that in years.
How about that? Huh? They're showing my age, aren't I?
Hey, EC2Fix has been in the game a long time. He's an in-house technician, and he works on some pretty cool stuff. It's old, and he keeps it going. He's doing a good job out there. So
good.
So if you ran into somebody, or if you had a technician that was under you, 19, 20 years old, what piece of advice would you give them entering the trade in 2025 and beyond?
Seek out all the knowledge and training you can. Whether it's through networking with other technicians, whether it's on your computer on the internet, whether it's with manufacturers, whether it's with Safesa, no matter who it's with, seek out all the knowledge and training you can.
Yep, 100%. I tell everybody that all the time. They're like, how do you get to be where you're at? I'm like, never stop learning. I'm like, do it on your own. I said, here's the thing. You work for a company, they're going to train you what they need you for. So they're not going to train you anything they don't need you for. So if you want to learn something, you're going to have to do it on your own. You're going to have to ask for it. You're going to have to seek out and go after it. But you're going to have to do it on your own too. And it'll be worth it in the long run. I mean,
it will.
I have brought business into my company based on me doing training on my own, brought business into the company I work for because of me. And, manufacturers have seeked me out because of stuff I've done on my own. Like this guy shows, drive or wants to do this. Let's see what he can do. And they
if you want to keep your good technicians, they want training.
Oh, 100%, 100%. If someone wants to learn cold side, you better give them cold side because they'll find someone that will do it.
I mean, it's technicians, to them, it's a huge benefit. It shows them that you really like them, you care about them.
Yeah. Yep. He says, I'm no John Bettiga, though. He's a smart feller.
Oh, no, man. Hey, we all learned the hard way.
So let's have some fun questions here to wrap this up, because we've been going for like 53 minutes. It's been a good one so far. So what was one of the wildest service calls you ever ran in commercial or marine refrigeration?
This is an easy question. I got sent to an HEB. It's no longer it was in Lock Hill, Selma, here in San Antonio. And 5 or 6 different technicians had been to this one doghouse, this one bank of cases. Mm-hmm. And they had put over like 300 pounds of R502 in this thing over a month and a half. Mm-hmm. And the guy I worked for said, you go and don't come back until you find the leak. I said, okay.
Challenge accepted.
So I'm up there in the doghouse and I go down and I look in some of the case bottoms and stuff. I don't see anything. I said, you know what? I'm not being very smart about this. It's hot gas defrost. So I go up to the doghouse and I start with circuit number 1. I throw that baby into defrost for about 5 minutes. 10 minutes, nothing. Okay. put it back into freeze. Go to the next one, throw it into defrost. Well, about the 10th one, I can hear this faint screaming, and I can't tell what he's saying. And it's getting louder, and it's getting louder. Well, it's an HEB employee, and he's running up the ladder, and he's screaming, "Turn it off, turn it off." And I'm like, oh, I guess we found the leak, so I put that system back in freeze. Well, there was a hole about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch in a suction line in a case, and it blew the case bottom straight up in the air about 8 feet. There was a lady in front of it with a shopping cart. She jumped straight up in the air and landed in the shopping cart.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
And I'm like, what's that noise? I hear something. And it was that guy, and he was screaming at the top of his lungs. He said, funny. "You're gonna kill somebody." And I said, no, it's just refrigerant, man. Come on,
Yeah. Don't just walk away from
it. I don't know. He said, "That lady's probably gonna sue us." I don't know. I called my boss and said, "Look, man, I found the leak."
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. So, you've talked about working in some of these hot kitchens. What is the hottest kitchen you've ever worked in? I've been in like 110, but I can only imagine that.
No, man. I will tell you the hottest thing I've ever done, and it wasn't in a kitchen. We were replacing a 70 horsepower compressor in the belly of a T3 tanker, which is a ship. It's an oil tanker. Mm-hmm. And in their infinite wisdom, they put an air-cooled compressor right in front of the boiler. So we were taking an air-cooled compressor out and putting a water-cooled compressor in. Mm-hmm. And this is 70 horsepower. I mean, we had to take the old one out piece by piece and take it up on deck and then bring the new one down piece by piece. We got to take the crankcase in through a hatchway. But that was 120 degrees. We worked in 2-hour shifts. There was 4. We had, 6 of us all together. We'd work in 2-hour shifts. And I actually fell asleep standing on the deck of that ship.
That's wild.
Yeah, that was the hottest. That's the hottest thing I've ever done. And I've been in a lot of attics that were 140 degrees and, like all the rest of us. But, and actually we started that job in Corpus Christi, at the port of Corpus Christi. And the captain comes down and goes, "Hey guys, we got orders. We got to go to Texas City. Can you finish the job underway?" Which of course means the boiler is going to be hotter.
Oh yeah, it's running.
And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, we can finish it underway. Sure.
I guess.
So we did, we got to Texas City, and this is we were jinxed on this job. We got to Texas City, we tied up at the dock, and lightning hits a tank in the Marathon tank farm and starts the tank on fire. A huge, huge fuel tank, which thank goodness was full. Had it been half full, I don't know if I'd be here talking to you.
Yeah, explode versus just burn.
We were that close to it. And so, of course, all the ships are chopping their mooring lines and headed out. Everybody has to get out of the harbor, because it's on fire. So we had to stay out there at anchor for 2 days. They had to let it burn out.
That's wild. That is insane. That's nuts. So, one last question. So, if you could go back and work on one system or one piece of equipment from your past for nostalgia's sake, what would it be?
Man, that's a tough one. But I'll tell you, I'll bet you your buddy that popped up here, I'll bet you he's worked on these. Back in the 80s, Isomatic came out with a cuber called the diagnostic cuber. This thing would actually tell you what was wrong with it.
Nice.
And they were super easy to work on. I mean, within 5 minutes, you could tell what was wrong with it. Now, of course, you had to do you had to change the solenoid or the compressor or whatever it was. But this thing would tell you what was wrong with it. And yeah, evaporator plates went bad and clutch motors and all that stuff. But that's the only machine so far that I can remember that I would walk up on, push 2 buttons, boom, here's the problem.
I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up now. That's pretty cool. I've
A
seen
guy named Jerry Gregory that just retired from Follett about 3 or 4 years ago.
Mhm.
He was their head of tech service at the time. And there was a guy that worked with him that went to work for Remcor named Pete Radke. I guarantee you somebody out there recognizes those names. Those guys were the service department at Mile High.
Nice.
And I talk to them almost every week.
That is cool. That is cool. So anything else we didn't cover you want to talk about? We got a few more minutes here for we're going to shut this thing
Oh
down.
man, seek out knowledge, guys. Do it on your own. Yeah, your employer should do it for you, but if you have the time, you should seek it out on your own. Do your best to seek it out because it does nothing but make you a better technician and make you worth more money.
Yep, exactly. Well, John, it's been a pleasure. Do you want to? I know you're on Facebook. I don't know if you want to share it, but if there's any social media, or if anyone wants to get a hold of you, is there anywhere people can find you?
I'm easy to find. I'm on Facebook for sure. I'm on Instagram too, I think. Facebook's probably the easiest way to find me. I've been trading messages with Jennifer Manzo lately. Evidently, she's quite the trainer.
Yeah,
she's in the same league as you.
She's pretty good, man, and she's doing a lot for the industry. I don't know how she does everything she does. She's one busy lady, family, kids, wife, multiple businesses, all kinds of stuff. I don't know. I was like, do you sleep, lady?
She hasn't taken me up on it yet, but I volunteered for her tech support line. As I said, you got to have a day off now and then,
Yeah, she had more, and I think some of them kind of backed out, and it kind of goes up and down. But yeah, she does a lot of good stuff for the industry. She's a good person for sure.
So tech support, and we all got to support each other because when I got into this trade, we didn't have the communication we have today. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have video chats. We didn't have FaceTime. We didn't have any of that stuff. So basically, we all depended on each other. I can't tell you how many times I called somebody and go, "Hey, have you ever seen one of these chillers do this?" "Oh yeah, I can tell you exactly what it is."
Nice.
I mean, that was what we had. We all stuck together, and we still all need to stick together. There's enough people out there throwing rocks at us. We don't need to throw rocks at each other.
100%. 100%. Well, John, I appreciate you taking Wednesday night before the holiday to come on and talk about what you've done in the industry. I'd love to have you back on again because there's a bunch of stuff we didn't cover, but I really appreciate you taking time to come on, buddy.
Anytime.
All right, John. Have a good night, buddy.
You too.
Thanks. If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.